Hello everybody, it's Julie here, and I have done so many videos in the last 24 hours, and most of them are never going to see the light of day. In fact, I just deleted one, and here's why. I'm a Christian, and I believe firmly that as a Christian, I am accountable for every word I speak. I am accountable for what I do. My social media is very important to me, so I try really hard with my blog, my podcast, and my videos to try to be Christian. So one of the videos I made today, I actually went off on a tirade against a celebrity doctor. Did he deserve it? Oh, most assuredly he deserved it. However, does it need to be out there in the public? No. And that's the good thing about social media. Now see, I have the power to control what I release of myself out there for public consumption. And thankfully, as a mature Christian, I can actually listen to the counsel of Holy Spirit and make a wise decision. The video I made before this definitely was not the right video to put out there. So here's the thing, people. Let's be legitimately honest here. We are called to be salt and light. End of story. If we are standing on the hilltop casting darkness, we are not being Christ-like. We are supposed to be Christ-like. Right now we are facing a pandemic that is spreading through the entire earth. And at this time, there are people that are genuinely afraid. There are people that are genuinely in panic about this. And we should be using this opportunity to extend light into the deepest reaches of the world through our social media pages. But that's not what I'm seeing. And I'm sure that's not what a lot of you are seeing. I'm seeing some Christians reach out. I'm seeing a lot of non-professed Christians reach out. But I'm seeing a lot of Christians insult, attack, and judge. Not just unbelievers, but fellow Christians. And the biggest attack is regarding if there should be church services or not. And that is up to the individual church. Friends, if we're going to be religious and we're going to sit here and be pharisaical, and we're going to say that our salvation and exactly how saved we are, like there's measures of salvation, is going to be based on church attendance, then we're going to live a horrible life. And who wants that? I lived that for most of my younger life. I went to a very legalistic church that believed firmly that if you had a TV in your house, you were a horrible person. So what did people do? They had hidden TVs in their house because we all loved our TV, but we just didn't want the pastor to know we had it. Because if we had TV, we couldn't be in ministry. So everybody had their TVs hidden in spare bedrooms and behind cabinets. What is happening? We had a church where you had to be at church services. If you didn't show up at a church service, they would check on you, not because they were concerned for your welfare, but they believed that you were already backslidden and on your way to hell. You can be religious, but that's an empty life. We're not called to be religious. We are called to follow Christ and be like Christ. So what did Christ say? Christ said that those that are not against us are for us. So instead of us sitting here on social media casting stones at fellow believers, feeling like our church is better than them because we had church service on Sunday, whereas other churches did not. We need to dial back our pride, guys. Seriously. The biggest thing that Christians face is pride. Consider what it looks like when we're on social media and post like, what's the difference between churches and Walmart? Walmart was open on Sunday. When posts like that are hitting social media, and then all the Christians are responding with like, boom, mic drop. Oh, my church had service. What is that? Who wants to be a Christian with that kind of mentality to step into? I was responsible for a young couple leaving my church a few years ago because I took on that religious attitude about condemning them for choosing to miss a church service because they wanted to go to a concert. Months later, after they'd left and I met with them to make amends, I was able to admit to them, I am very sorry. I have to acknowledge the role I played in condemning you for something that was irrelevant. Now, granted, guys, I get it. Jesus is coming back soon, and we do have an obligation, and we do have a life to be living. That life, however, does not require us to mock fellow believers on Facebook. That does not require us to call out churches that are not having services in light of this coronavirus pandemic because we feel like we're untouchable. We're not untouchable. We're not. Read the Bible. Illness comes. We are not untouchable as believers. I want to believe firmly, 100%, that I will not catch the coronavirus, but that is not true. I could very easily catch it. The answer is, will I glorify God when I have it, or will I blame him? But what we're looking at is churches making the decision to keep their people safe, and in doing so deciding to offer their services online in order to protect their church. Some may not have the means to do so, and so what they might be doing is small groups in different homes, or just not having church for the moment, and maybe directing their congregants to certain Bible studies or to online services. We don't know what individual churches are doing. You don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what my life looks like. But we're going to sit here on social media and throw stones at each other? Why? This is a time to be light. We talk about how urgent it is, that Jesus Christ is coming back soon, that we need to set an example, that we need people to be saved, and we are the most arrogant, hateful, angry people in the world. We hold on to grudges that aren't even ours. We pick up someone else's stinking offense and carry it with for them, and then they move on, and we're still holding an offense for 7 years that a person down the road doesn't even remember doing. And why do we get offended? Pride. Most of our offenses are just ourselves being prideful. If anything I'm telling you right now is pissing you off, ask yourself why. Because all that I'm telling you is to be kind to each other. That's all I'm saying. So if me telling you that being kind to each other means not to throw stones at each other on social media, to not make Christianity look worse than it already does, people don't like Christians because we do this kind of thing. They get this kind of judgment in the world all the time. I'm not talking about calling sin, sin. That's a completely different thing. And although the catchphrase for that is don't judge me, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about calling sin, sin. I'm talking about not understanding why a church is doing something. And as long as it's not anti-Christian, guys, let it go. If it's not harming anybody, let it go. We keep trying to find enemies in the church. And granted, there is darkness in the church. But you know what the ironic thing is? We let that darkness slide. And then instead, we're pulling darkness out of areas that there isn't even any darkness. Take, for example, the fact that people are throwing stones at churches for not having church services. How many gluttonous situations do you have in your own church? Gluttony is the one acceptable sin in the church across the board. It is very rare that you hear a sermon about gluttony. People love their potlucks. People love their Thanksgiving. People love to gorge on food. You don't hear sermons on gluttony. If your church preaches on gluttony, they're far ahead of anybody else. I have never heard a sermon on gluttony, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think. It's been a long time. But my point is, we leave gluttony alone, but we're going to get mad because people are not having a church service on Sunday because there's a coronavirus, and most of our congregation is the older population. And who is the most susceptible to the coronavirus? That would be the older population and people with underlying conditions. So we're trying to keep these people safe, and we're going to be mocked by other believers with their prideful chant, "We had church on Sunday and you didn't." Grow up. We are not spiritual babies anymore. We shouldn't be being fed spiritual milk. We should be eating meat by now. And we should be a brazen light on a hill sending encouragement, not stones. Guys, please stop condemning each other. Just stop. If we want to reach the lost for Jesus, we cannot post arrogant things online about churches not having Sunday service. Please don't. Please don't. I can't even believe I have to say this. And you think you're doing something Christ is proud of. Think about Saul. How he thought he was doing the Lord's work as he was persecuting believers. And how Jesus had to knock him blind on a road and be like, "Why are you doing this? This is not what you're persecuting me. Why are you doing this?" Catch it. You're persecuting Christ. when you're mocking other churches for not having church service and you're standing there proudly proclaiming that you are. Let each church handle this coronavirus situation in the way they feel led to handle it. Shelve your pride. Shelve your pride. The world does not need more pride right now. The world needs love and grace and hope. And pride doesn't fit into any of those three things.